So I didn't think I'd be doing a trade video at 11 p.m., but the Rockets just traded for Kevin Porter Jr., a future second-round pick. That was the tweet by Woj and Shams. I'm a little upset the Celtics didn't get him, if that was all it took to acquire him, to be honest. Kevin Porter Jr. had some really, really good moments for Cleveland last year. He had a stretch in the late part of the season where he was dropping double-digit points. He had a 30-point game, quite a few high teens games. There was a 20-point game in there, and yeah, the efficiency wasn't always the best. Like, he's got some things to work on, certainly, but he seems like a guy who, if he's on a team and he buys in and the spacing is pretty good around him and the development staff is there to help him work on his game and fix some things like shot selection, over dribbling, that sort of thing. You have a guy who can be a real shot creator and get by defenders and play in the pick and roll and also make plays for other guys. I mean, Porter, yeah, he certainly likes to shoot the ball, but if you can just drill it home to him that, you got to recognize when the guy's cutting, or, you got to see the big guy in the dunker spot, or you got to see the shooter in the corner, that sort of thing, then I think he could develop into a really, really good passer and be a guy you can run a good amount of offense through. If you watch some of his highlights with the Cavs, it's not just that type of stuff, but also he does get kind of reckless with threes sometimes, and his percentages on that stuff, it's honestly not as bad as you might think for a guy who is not thought of as like a great player right now. I mean, he shot 34% from three, but he was really, really taking them for the Cavs, pull-ups if the big doesn't step up on him, and sometimes he would just take a three with a guy pretty close to him. So in some sense, it's like, well, you appreciate the confidence. In another sense, it's, sometimes it's not the best shot. So again, Porter is a guy who you're going to have to develop a little bit, but the talent and potential is definitely there. His physical profile is also good as well. His wingspan is long, and he's a good athlete and all that. But of course, the other question here is Porter, the person. Now, he's probably got something going on, and we hope the best for him and all that. But at the same time, there were some questions about his maturity coming into the NBA. There was an incident at USC where he was suspended for off-the-court reasons. And of course, we had the thing recently where he was throwing the food, and that's the reason the Cavs wanted to get off of him, of course. And he's going to have to just manage some of that. I mean, you have to be somebody that people enjoy working with day to day, so we'll hope he can figure that stuff out. Now, if we think about his place on this Rockets team, to be honest, I feel like he's a guy who can kind of slot into this roster and be ready to go a bit. I mean, John Wall should be able to create some offense for Porter. I think, Porter, maybe it's not what he really wants to do in terms of spacing up and just shooting catch-and-shoot threes, but I think he's shown some potential with that, as he has with everything. His form is a little flat, so we'll see there, but again, the percentages have not been bad for him so far. Now, in college, he shot well from three. He did not shoot well from the free throw line, so that's a little alarming. In his one season in the NBA so far, he shot 72% from the line, so that's a little more promising. We'll see. He's kind of in this in-between area as a shooter where you could see him building on it. You could see him perhaps exposing the fact that he's actually not a great shooter. We'll have to see. That's the biggest thing with Kevin Porter. We'll have to see. But if we can get back to the roster thing, again, John Wall creating some shots for him. Oladipo could create some shots for him. He's, of course, not the passer that John Wall is, so that doesn't mean Porter Jr. will benefit as much from Oladipo driving, but at the same time, Oladipo's assist numbers with the Rockets have been pretty damn good so far, so we'll see there. I would like to know how much ball handling opportunity Porter Jr. is really going to have with the Rockets, because the Christian Wood pick and roll is sitting right there, I mean, this is a guy who was making plays with Kevin Love or Tristan Thompson setting screens for him. They did have Drummond when Porter was having some of his better games last season, so there was him, Larry Nance as well. But Christian Wood is better than all those guys, so we'll have to see there. I mean, if defenses want to switch that, I think Porter can beat some guys off the dribble. So there is a real opportunity to me for Porter Jr. to be able to make an impact right away with the Rockets. I guess the only concern I have is that he wouldn't get enough ball handling opportunities and he would be more of a spot shooter, which again, I think he can do, but that wouldn't be maximizing what he has potential to do. And again, he does have personal things. We don't know the specifics of them, or at least I don't, so wish him the best with that stuff. To think about Porter Jr.'s contract, I know, rookie deal, why does this matter? Well, I mean, next year has already been accepted, so even if this year doesn't go great, he would be under contract next season with the Rockets. However, if this season still does not go great for him, then the Rockets could choose to decline his 2023 option. For that to happen, Houston would have to believe that he's just not going to work out there. I would imagine they're probably going to accept his 2023 option because it's $3 million. He has potential. Why wouldn't you? So yeah, that's all I have. Kevin Porter Jr. to the Rockets. It definitely could work out. We'll just have to see if it does.